I think to truly understand differentiated instruction, I think everyone needs to understand that it is no longer something that is black and white, this or that. So I think traditionally, when people think of differentiation, they think of remedial and enrichment. And there's a far more nuanced kind of spectrum that exists within differentiation. So we're not just talking about academic readiness anymore. We are certainly talking about that. We're certainly talking about developmentally how students are ready within each grade. But we're also talking about differentiation when it comes to student interests, their motivations, their social emotional readiness. We're also talking about their preferences, their learning preferences. There's so many facets to differentiation now. And in order to know our students, we really need to understand all those facets.
So Sheryl, so interesting that you're sharing all that, because I was in the gym the other day, and the phys ed teacher was teaching the students about how to basketball unit. They're teaching them how to dribble. And I think the phys ed teacher has really gotten to know their students and understands that some students play competitive basketball after school or on the teams and do lots of skills and come with a lot of experience. And there are other students who are extremely reluctant even just to come in the gym and pick up a basketball, or are nervous or uncomfortable or anxious about that experience. And so when they planned their lesson about how am I going to teach students how to dribble the ball, and I have some students who won't pick up the ball and other students who are clearly very experienced, he created laneways in the gym. And each laneway was focused on dribbling, but in a different way that met the needs or met the experiences and the readiness and the backgrounds of these different students. So some students, all they had to do was dribble the ball from point A to point B. Others were dribbling the ball with one hand and then the other hand. Others had to go around pylons. Others had a defense partner that was working with them. And there were a variety of different ways in which the students could dribble those balls and still practice that skill, but in a way that recognized that who they were as students when they came in the classroom.
So how we know our students is really, really important, because when we say knowing our students, we mean knowing all of those different facets of what makes them a unique learner. And we do this through something called formative assessment. And formative assessment is really meant to be a way to form and influence our teaching. So formative assessment can be something as informal as just a check-in at the start of the day on a Monday morning. How was your weekend? What are the students coming into the classroom with? Did they get a good sleep? What kinds of things did they do? Might they be excited about the week ahead? I think it's just as simple as taking the pulse of where your students are at the start of the day. It could be just as simple as that. Traditionally, formative assessment could have come in the form of a quiz in the middle of a unit, so that a teacher might understand what the kids know leading into the end project. But oftentimes it's much more exciting and enriching than even that. It could be an assignment that builds their skills and makes them get excited for the summative assessment and the assessment that comes at the end, or a project at the end. And then it lets the students know and the teacher know what skills still need strengthening before they get to that final point. So that feedback doesn't just come at the end, it comes all throughout a unit, so that students understand exactly where they're at, and the teacher understands exactly where their students at all through the process, not just at the end.
So all those decisions allow teachers to make common sense decisions about what they're going to be doing in their classroom, how they're going to be teaching their students, and how their students are going to learn. The grade ones are learning about teen numbers right now. And often in grade one, students come with a variety of different academic experiences and backgrounds. And some students are still learning just how to represent numbers, and other students are ready to already start showing their understanding of simple addition, or even some basic multiplication when they're working with numbers. But other students also come in with like Sheryl said, a poor sleep, or they're a little bit anxious about working on their own, or they have difficulty keeping track of time and need to work with a timer. And so when I walked into the classroom to see what the students were doing, some students were working in partners on the carpet. Some students were working in small groups guided by a teacher. Some students were working in a small group independently because they were capable of doing that. Some students were working with manipulatives, like 10 frames, and others were just working with paper and pencil. And some students were showing their understanding of these numbers through simple additions or subtraction sentences, and others were creating more complex ones. And it just, the teacher was still addressing the curriculum expectation of demonstrating an understanding of these teen numbers, but allowed her students to experience that expectation in ways that addressed their learning profiles and their experiences and backgrounds, what they came into the classroom with.